What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We're taking a look at Disney Speedstorm here on Steam Deck through SteamOS. And fortunately, on launch day, no needed workarounds or compatibility layers. Everything just seems to be working right out of the box. So we'll talk about the game a little bit as we go and certainly take a look at the performance. Now, when I originally was recording everything for the game, it was not verified yet, but it was working just fine. And then it didn't take very long and actually changed that over to game info verified, and of course had the little question, is this running as intended, and answered yes there. So it is verified already here, and like I said, I don't have to force any compatibility layers. Everything just seems to be working fine here. I did create a GameLoft account, which will give me cross progression, cross save for everything. We do have cross play. I have high preset with the settings here, but motion blur and depth of field turned off, which I normally do. We'll also take a look at some ultra as well with some different frame rates. Now, just getting into the gameplay initially, I just record really from like the first 3 tracks or so, but I have put about 5.5 hours into the game since recording and it coming out yesterday, and I actually have had a pretty good time with it, and the performance does seem to be fairly consistent with the things that I see with these races. The only thing I haven't gotten into much yet is multiplayer, but as you can see here on this round, the performance is holding a pretty solid 60 FPS with the high settings here and motion blur and stuff turned off, which is a nice experience. Now, you won't hold 60 solid on every map. I did have some dips down to about 55 or 56 on some maps, but that was about it. Ultra, you'll dip a lot more, which we'll take a look at too. Medium would probably get you a very locked 60 if that's what you want to go for like every map. So switching over and taking a look at Ultra here with 60 FPS as our cap, we will be down into the 40s and 50s with this map, and I think this would work out if you wanted the highest graphics out of the game, and we're going to cap to 30 or 40 FPS. But just running it this way, it doesn't feel quite as smooth and responsive and as nice to play as it did when I was getting the higher frame rate at high burst Ultra. But it does run pretty well and it does work, and again, I think it might be the way to go if you're going to go ahead and cap the FPS. Even something around 40 should work fine, which we'll take a look at as well. I'll switch things back over to our high 60 FPS here, and we'll get ready to take a look at 30 and 40 FPS and just see what the usage is there. We're at about 20 watts or so, 20.4 when it comes to just leaving things wide open here on high with 60 FPS. When we switch over to 30, we drop down to, it bounces usually for me between 10.5 and 11.5, 11.4 watts for 30 FPS, depending on how things are running. I didn't really go for Ultra. I pretty much stuck with the high setting here, even for the 30 FPS, but as I showed you earlier in the video, if you wanted to push the graphics a little higher, I don't think you would have any problem sticking with 30 and still never dipping, even on Ultra if you're running this way. And you can see here we even dip down to 10.8 watts there. Now, switching over to the 40 FPS cap, it does feel much better and more responsive than 30. It's certainly a sweet spot a lot of us on Steam Deck enjoy, and you can see it does use a little bit more battery power. Of course, with the extra 10 FPS, we're not going to get down into the 10.5, 10.8 watt area. We'll stay up above the 11.5 typically here, 11.8 when it comes to that. So a little bit more battery usage, but it does feel a little bit better to play. And again, high or ultra or whatever, that's going to run really well. Now, I don't typically review games much here as much as I do performance, but I will say growing up on kart racers, starting with Mario Kart back on the Super Nintendo, this one's pretty good. I hope they don't destroy it with the free-to-play model. Right now you do have to get the Founders Pack, but we'll see how that shakes out in the end. But anyways, guys, thanks a lot for coming and check out the video as always. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.